WRS Pickens Jackson.
Hey, what do you say we sing a driving song?
There's not going to be any singing around here. Just
real sports.
On the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Oh, this is going to be sweet.
And it's all right here, right now on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
th day of March, 2024. Welcome in, Champion Chair Sports Maven on a Monday. Monday. Rain coming in. Be careful out there as we move through Easter week. We'll be out later on this week for a day or two for Easter, but we'll get to that later on. We got a lot to get to today. And, of course, as we kick off the week, as we head towards the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 to figure out where we're headed for the Final Four. Hey, we're brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today. A lot to play at Ameristar. We're getting some of the lines for the ball games this week. A lot of good stuff out there at Ameristar Casino. Make sure to check out 4 great restaurants on the property. Also, the Bottleneck Blues Bar on the weekend. Text us 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's 13 locations around the state. Online at cowboymaloney's.com. That's cowboymaloney's.com. You can always call us on the Malone Roofing caller line, 601-897-1059. ecmalone.com is their website, 8337-MALONE. That's 8337-MALONE. Commercial and residential roofing done right. If you have any issues over storms, 8337-MALONE. And, of course, we're on X at Jake Wim. Brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. 2 locations to serve you in the metro. Clinton and Richland, OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust. We'll have David Murray talking Mississippi State sports at 3:30. Chris Landry 4 to 4:30, talking some NFL and some college. How are you, sir? Everything good? Good weekend? You just got an educational class. You could go to work for Squez on his farm now. So we'll maybe jump off into that. A lot to get to, though. You know, the demise of the SEC in the basketball tournament. I think we can safely say that the SEC is not a basketball conference. Just a horrible outing for the SEC. You know, when you're talking about SEC teams lost as higher seeds, you know, Mississippi State, you're looking at Auburn, Kentucky, just a lot of teams that lost. I mean, obviously you got Tennessee and Alabama still alive. How's your bracket? Is your bracket good? Alive? Mine's my Final Four's still there. But, you know, when you look at UConn, San Diego State 1-5, Illinois, Iowa State 2-3, kind of going down the bracket. North Carolina, Alabama 1-4, and then you've got a Clemson, Arizona 2-6. Then you got a 1-4 Houston, Duke, 2-11 NC State, the highest seed still in the tournament. They just keep rolling, roll through the ACC tournament. Now they're into the Sweet 16. Yes, sir. Purdue, Gonzaga 1-5. And then we've got a Tennessee Creighton 2-3 matchup. So you got 2 SEC teams left in the field. We'll see how that shakes out over the weekend. We will announce our round 1 and round 2 winners in our Capital Orthopedic Mississippi Legends Grill Bracket Challenge. We do have winners in round 1 and round 2. Let's go to Rooster, though, on line 1. Rooster, happy Monday.
Hey. I'm sorry, I'm moving. I'm driving, so maybe you can't hear me.
No, I got you. Go ahead.
Heard you want to give a shout out and watching all the games, and I disagree with Jake this time. But one thing though is for certain, the guys who did the seeding for the bracket, boy, were they spot on or what? The top 8, number 1, number 2 seeds still in it, but I think 12 out of the 14 seeds are still in it. But listen, if we wind up with Alabama and Tennessee in the Elite 8, that will be a good year.
Yeah, I mean, if you
fantastic.
It will. If you get,
which I think we're going to do.
Very well, could happen.
Tennessee will win, and I think Bama will win.
No, it's very possible.
Tennessee has got Creighton, and Alabama got the hardest job, obviously, but you've got 2 still in it, so it's not that bad. And whoever said the SEC was a basketball school anyway? Can't go by the AP voting. You go by the results.
That's right.
But anyway, I think fantastic tournament so far. I mean, sensational tournament. Those pickers, whoever they were, that made the seedings, did a fantastic job. You know. But anyway, just want to holler in with the other show. I guess is off the air, so you guys are. I guess y'all are all that's left for a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Rooster.
God bless.
Thanks. I don't know what happened. Is this our Hunger Games of radio networks going on around here? Maybe we're sitting at the top. I have no idea. I'm just attrition. I have no idea what's going on. All right. 20 highest paid basketball coaches. We'll get into that. Some of these numbers are really, really big. I mean, we talk about football numbers, but when you look at basketball numbers, really big. Also, John Wilner reports the settlement between Washington State and Oregon State and the 10 departing schools is final, talking about the Pac-12, the 10 out, and the 2 that's left includes revenue withholding. It says, notwithstanding the distribution described above, the conference shall withhold $5 million from the fiscal year 2024 distributions to each of the departing members for a total of $50 million. That's the withheld distribution. The $5 million per departing member amount will be withheld from the following schedule. $1 million from each departing member. It kind of breaks out where the money's coming from. The conference shall be entitled to an additional payment of $1.5 million from each of the departing members, and the departing members shall have no vote, direction, or input into these contracts. So, I mean, look, Washington State and Oregon State, they're going to have some money to play with here. We'll see if they try to rebuild this conference in some way, form, or fashion. Ross Dellinger, talking about the NCAA tournament, says, as they wrote 6 weeks ago, the NCAA expansion is an inevitable venture at this point. It's going to happen. Seems like a good plan. Peter Burns, reporting on this, SEC Network and ESPN, says, like it or not, the NCAA tournament will be expanded. When it does, here's the win-win. 72 total teams go from 4 play-in games to 8. All 16 teams in the 8 play-in games should be bubble teams. Number 16 seed or automatic qualifiers should never have to play a play-in game. Protect the qualifiers and grow the field. So a lot of conversation over that over the weekend will continue as the tournament rolls on. All right, we're going to get we'll talk to Chris Landry about this. You've got several things going on with some of these changes in tackling. And they put a video. I put this out on X. Tom Pelissero, here's a video that shows at the press conference what they talked about today, banning the, quote, swivel hip drop tackle. Beaver, were you familiar with this swivel hip drop tackle? So Rich McKay making it clear multiple times there's a difference between a hip drop tackle and a swivel hip drop tackle. The defensive player lifting himself off the ground and using his weight to fall on the offensive player is what they're working to eliminate. So this... I get where their head is on this, but this is going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of these penalties that are going to be questionable, be reviewed, because it's some of these tackles. It's hard to differentiate between the swivel hip drop and the whatever this other tackle is. So, but we'll get some more into that. And of course, there's full language by Mike Garfello on the proposal for this, and it says that it's Article 18. The hip drop tackle is a foul if a player uses the following technique to bring a runner to the ground: grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner up with both arms, and, point B, unweights. We got gnats back in here. How did this happen? Sorry about that. Had to get rid of that gnat. Unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, landing on or trapping the runner's legs below the knee. The penalty for the hip drop tackle, loss of 15 yards and an automatic first down. So going to have to go back to work in these NFL camps and really kind of learn how to really kind of tackle and make sure that you're doing this right. Also, you've got some other rule changes by the NFL at their annual meeting. By Detroit, they amend Rule 15, Section 1, Article 1, to protect a club's ability to challenge a third down following a successful challenge. Number 5, by competing committee, amends Rule 14, Section 5, Article 2, to allow an enforcement of a major foul by an offense prior to a change of possession in a situation where the fouls are on both teams or by both teams. And Rule Amendment 8 by Competition Committee of Men's Rule 12, Section 2, to eliminate a potentially dangerous tackling technique, which we just talked about with the swivel hip drop tackle. We are brought to you by Maristar Casino. We're also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. You can go to westinjackson.com to learn more. Make sure you get in at the great, and I mean really, really good, Estelle Southern Table. You can get down to Estelle Southern Table for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., also 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. For more information, go to westinjackson.com or call for a reservation, 769-235-8400. Make sure to find them on Facebook as well. David Murray coming up in 20 minutes.
Turning to sports.
With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Maristar Casino. We're also brought to you by Rebel Ace Hardware. If you didn't get out for the tent sale this past weekend, get on out there now this week as they got you set up, ready to go. A lot of great deals on Gravely zero-turn mowers, also Rebel Outdoor Power, Rebel Ace Hardware. A lot of great inventory to be had and to get your hands on at Rebel Hardware in Pearl and other locations as well. Go to rebeloutdoor.com or Rebel Ace Hardware. Unnamed texter, was the Bama Grand Canyon game a rugby match or a football game? We'll go with a rugby match, right? We'll call it a rugby match. All right, some other stuff that's out there. Interesting story on on3.com. A $100,000 NIL deal we'll get into later for Antonio Reeves that Reeves never heard about. A seven-figure, NIL deal that offer of a current player with no response, a booster called KSR, that's Kentucky Sports Talk Radio, today, with some troubling behind-the-scene information about the program and how Kentucky is handling their name, image, and likeness. We'll get into some of this, too, as well. Shedeur Sanders on why he didn't declare for the 2024 NFL Draft. Quote, "I'm trying to be the first quarterback off the board. That's really what it is. I respect Caleb Williams. I respect how he plays. He's a great player, but overall, there's just different tiers." Let's see, go back over here. He said there's just different tiers of quarterbacks. You've got to understand what player you are and what category you fall in. I understand this year wasn't my year. I didn't have enough time at this level. So there's a lot going on with Shedeur Sanders. Deion is out there talking a lot about even next year's draft a year ahead of time. Text us 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. If you got a question on anything over the weekend, obviously baseball over the weekend. If you look at the standings in the Southeastern Conference now with a couple weekends under our belts, you've got Kentucky that is in first place in the SEC East. They're 5-1 and 20-4 overall. South Carolina number 2 at 4-2, tied with Florida at 4-2. That's 19-5 and 14-9. You got Georgia and Tennessee both sitting at 3-3, as well as Vanderbilt, and their records are 21-4, 21-4, and 19-6. In the Missouri, you can go ahead and just chalk them. They're out of it, 1-5 already, and 10-14 overall. They must put most of their money probably in football, I would guess now. So it's just not working out for Missouri. In the SEC West, Arkansas sits at top of the conference. So the SEC Western Division at 5-1, 19-3. Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss all tied at number 2 at 3-3. And you've got A&M at 21-3, Mississippi State 17-8, Ole Miss at 17-8 as well. LSU sits at 2-4, Bama 2-4, Auburn 1-5. And I still think all 7 teams, it's going to be just a topsy-turvy SEC West battle here. Southern Miss sits at number 3 in the Sun Belt in baseball in the early going of the conference play. They're actually second. There's a tie for first. Louisiana and Georgia State both sit at 5-1 in the conference. Southern Miss 4-2, 15-9 overall. They're tied with Texas State at 4-2, 14-10 for the second spot there. So Southern Miss off to a good start in the Sun Belt baseball race. All right, Big Ten head coach power rankings. We've got Ryan Day sits at number 1. This is courtesy of On3. Sits at number 1. Lincoln Riley, number 2. Dan Lanning, number 3. This is their rankings. James Franklin, number 4. And Kirk Ferentz, number 5. Anything off the phones? Selling some insurance today? Did you close the deal? Good. So I'm glad that Beaver is able to use this platform to make a little extra money on the side. So if you have insurance questions, 601-897-1059. Let's see here. Deshaun Foster at 18. It's hard to believe there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. When are we going to change the name of that conference, though? Do you call it the Big 18? Or why don't you just call it the Big Conference? Like the really big conference, because you got 18 teams in the conference. Georgia running back Trevor Etienne arrested on 4 misdemeanors, including a DUI over the weekend. And, of course, you got some more speed racing going on. Again, I don't know what's going on at Georgia, but their players love to drive fast. And they love to drive with it looks like a beverage in their hands. But we'll get into that. Also, when you look at the transfers that are expected to produce right away, and, I heard an interesting dialogue from Josh Pate, Late Kick Josh, who comes on this show from time to time, 247sports.com. He was talking about the calm before the storm, the April storm coming with the transfer portal in football. And he said that he knows of already a situation or two where position units, and he wouldn't say where, and he didn't say who, but a position unit, let's just say receivers or offensive linemen on a certain campus, they know after spring who they're going after, and they're ready to make that happen. Like that's already in the motion. So saying after spring we're cutting these people, we're bringing these people in, you can expect that second transfer portal window to get a little crazy, and we'll see what happens after that, how that dust kind of settles. But you're looking at the most valued / under the pressure transfer portal guys. Dylan Gabriel, quarterback at Oregon, got to make a difference right now. Cam Ward, Miami Hurricanes. Also Aiden Childs, Michigan State. Caleb Downs, he's a safety. He will be at Ohio State. Tyler Show, quarterback Louisville. DJ Uiagalelei, quarterback Florida State. Will Howard, quarterback. A lot of these quarterbacks, Ohio State. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver, Texas. Riley Leonard, quarterback, Notre Dame. And Trevor Etienne, who we just referenced, got in trouble at Georgia. He is expected to make big contributions on that campus. Let's see here. White Denzel. Sanders also said he's an underdog because he played at a small private school, and then says 6A Texas high school football players are not good, yet 6 NFL first-team All-Pros went to a 6A Texas school. Yeah, I saw some of that, and we're going to get into that. Rebel Godfather, Big 2 and 16 noodles. Oh, come on. I don't know that it's 16 noodles. I mean, is it really? I mean, that's some good talent over there. It's good teams over there. I don't know that 16 noodles. So, yeah, the highest paid basketball coach right now in college basketball, Kansas, is Bill Self. He makes $9.6 million per year. 9.6. John Calipari, of course, this is one of the reasons that as early as today, it could be later on this week. I mean, he may be able to salvage that job at Kentucky. A lot of people feel like he is on the way out. But Rebel Godfather says noodles. He's sticking with it. John Calipari, though, $8.5 million. And then Tom Izzo, $6.2 million. Let's go to More Bully on line 1. More Bully, welcome in.
Jake, what's going on, my friend?
Monday. How about you?
Hey, it's good to hear your voice. I was just telling Beaver, I got my 2 feet on Mississippi soil on Friday, and it felt good to be home.
Well, very good, very good. I hope wherever you were was enjoyable.
Work retreat. That explain it to you?
Say that again?
Enough?
A bird retreat?
It was a work retreat.
Oh,
yeah.
A work retreat. I thought you said a bird retreat.
Yeah, it was a sanctuary. Chirp, freaking chirp.
There you go.
Jeez. Hey, man, you know what the best thing about the NCAA tournament is for me and my bracket?
It's over?
I was in Virginia Tuesday through Friday, and I didn't watch a lick. And I hadn't even looked at my bracket knowing what it's all going on. But, yeah, I'm sure I'm done. I heard there's no perfect brackets.
Oh, no. No, that's right.
How are you looking?
Fair to middling.
Really?
It's
You are the maven.
It's very average. It's not that good.
Yeah. So let me ask you, did you see the Saturday baseball game?
I did.
State?
I did not.
All right, let me tell you a stat on their starting pitcher. That dude he threw 102 pitches. He faced 26 batters, and he mowed down 12.
That's a heck of a stat line.
That's pretty stellar, huh?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, he should be making some dollars if he keeps that up.
You would think.
I'm sure he's making some dollars now, but some more dollars.
Right.
So, anywho. All right, Jack, it's good to hear you. I'm going to keep tuning in, and stay with us on 105.9. It's the MOORE, and I am out.
I don't even know what to do with that, except take a time out and let's reset. We got David Murray coming up here in just a bit. We're brought to you by Ashley Howie, Crye-Like Realtors, 769-226-3782, Facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor if you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game.
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive
That's entertainment.
on the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we're talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Stream the show and stream this station at thezone1059.com. We're brought to you by Mac Hike in Madison Gluckstadt. Great time of year to get out and check out Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chevy in Madison Gluckstadt. And, of course, a lot of great new and used inventory to be had all month long with payments that fit everybody's budget. And, of course, you get a great deal at Mac Hike in Madison Gluckstadt, on-site and online at MacHikeMadison.com. You also get a great deal when you subscribe to Gene's page if you're a Mississippi State fan. And you can do that by getting all the great content from David Murray, Steve Robertson, and more. David, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Jake, how's the weather in Jackson? I hear it's very changeable down there as well.
Yes, it is. It's touch and go, right? So we got storms coming in. It's going to be one of those crazy spring afternoons here in Jackson. So how are you, sir?
Well, it's not going to affect anything today because nothing going on in the Mississippi State campus. But tomorrow, of course, Bulldog baseball is on the road at Samford. They're on the road all week, in fact, after coming back from A&M, going down to Florida. Football picks up practice again tomorrow, probably about 9:15 in the morning. We're due to get about 20 minutes actual observation, our only so far of camp, and then talk to various players following, follow up with Coach Jeff Lebby on Thursday. But had a really good talk with Lebby this past Thursday. He had a couple of practices to review and just a really upbeat attitude from the coach.
David, we'll come back to that. Let's go baseball first. Then I do have a basketball question. We'll move back into football. But baseball over the weekend, Dogs grab a game. But, right now sitting tied for second in the SEC West 2 weekends in. Your thoughts of this baseball team?
Well, first off, 3-3 is when you start the season coming off the last couple of years you're facing what at the time were two top 10 teams. You think, all right, just get out of there. Don't be swept either one. You're okay. 3-3, you're feeling pretty good about yourself, particularly with one of them a road series. If you come out of the Florida series 4-5, you're probably on track. If you come out 5-4, you're feeling really good about the direction of Chris Lemonis' team. And there's reasons they could go both ways. Being a road trip, you just never know. And Florida played really well against Texas A&M. But some things about State, if you could get the rotation healthy again. Nate Dome, who's missed 2 weekends, and State has still been able to win a game in there. You get him back in. Now you have a fourth starter, Evan Sierra, you feel comfortable with. Cal Stephen really rebounded from the LSU series to pitch great against A&M. Drangelo Sanjay is going to be up and down. That's just the nature of being a third-day pitcher. But you like what's happening. You see some things taking shape now with the batting order. You've figured out a few things in left field, what you can do with the DH position. And you're hoping to get your shortstop, Dylan Cupp, back, which really gives you more options. So I think the best is ahead for Lemonis' team right now. And they're off to their RPI right now is 49 this spring. That's not good, and it reflects those early season losses to people like Austin Peay and others. But SEC season is going to be what determines whether this team goes postseason or not and how highly.
David Murray on your radio, Monday edition of the program, talking Mississippi State sports. Make sure to find him on X, and, of course, check out the podcast. Get him on social media platforms like Facebook and, of course, genespage.com. David, right now, unofficial count, 504 guys in the basketball transfer portal. So everybody kind of closes their eyes and say, boy, I hope we can hold on to our teams. Any word of any attrition yet at Mississippi State? I mean, it's interesting because as these teams get knocked out, these guys are jumping straight into the portal.
Yeah, my first thought was that few, huh?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be more than that at this point.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, we're used to thinking in football terms where there's annually 2,000 to 3,000 in the portal. I think over time that's going to drop as guys realize, it's not the answer to all the problems. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what State has to do. Hold on to Josh Hubbard. And I understand that the Charlie Winfield initiative, they're doing all they can and more to make sure that Josh comes back for a sophomore season at State because he's a guy you can build a team around. But you take care of that, then you just start filling in the details. You've got a nucleus of backcourt coming back, but you've really got to shore up the front court. You need a scorer in the middle. You need a better defensive presence to alternate with Jimmy Bell. You've got to develop some guys further. So Chris Jans, who is no stranger to the portal, in fact, that's a large reason why he got the job at Mississippi State, because he's a coach who knows how to operate that way. Yeah, did he have a couple strikes this year? Sure, that's just going to happen. But his long-term record is he produces players in the portal, so I expect him to go out, find the right fits for it. And main thing about this whole past season, the more I look back and review on it, if there's one thing he was super disappointed with, is they didn't play great defense the way they did the first year with the same players. But I will always believe if Tolu Smith doesn't start the season hurt and miss your first half, if he's able to hit SEC at full speed, I think this team's still playing right now. It didn't happen. You just move on with it. But consecutive NCAA trips, hey, he's still the first coach here ever to do it in his first two seasons. So a lot of faith in Chris Jans.
David, back to football. You said you guys are obviously going to get the one-on-one with Coach Levy and get an opportunity to kind of look at some actual practice. What are you going to be looking for, and what are you going to gauge off this? Hey, it looks like they're going in the right direction, especially when you talk about brand new staff, a lot of new players, really just trying to kind of get everything in order and in line at this point.
Well, you said line. That's it. There won't be enough time. 20 minutes will not be nearly enough time for me to take a look at what's happening on the offensive line, which is my main concern for this season. So it'll be more like, how fast the transfers fitting in there, because you've signed 4 linemen from various FBS colleges to come in and take those jobs. Are they succeeding? Where does Albert Reese fit in? A couple of guys who've been redshirting, because there's some young guys in there. Give credit to the past 2 staffs. They signed some sizable young men, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", long arms, good frames. Let's see what the new strength system has been able to put on those guys and meld them in. That's what I would like to look at, but you know what I'll be watching. I'll be watching the throwers and catchers, and by every indication, Blake Chapin is just grabbing this and running with it, or passing with it, if you prefer. Got a great piece that we ran, yesterday morning with Creed Whitmore, who, by the way, I think is going to emerge as one of the team spokesmen. I urge everybody to go out and read what he had to say. Also read my story last week with Levy, what he said about the quarterback positions. And he's made clear to them there's going to be a winner coming out of spring ball who's number one. He's not shy about pointing it out. And the best part is he said the guys know it, and it's showing up in practice so far. So it's not a lot of time to watch. There's a lot of questions I'd like to see, and I don't expect to get a lot of answers, but the main thing I see is a team in better condition. They're headed back on the right track physically, as far as getting more muscle and strength on them. The new speed program is paying off by all accounts, and just a general upbeat attitude. You can always say that for every new regime, but I've seen a lot of coaching transitions at State. I can say this may be the most positive, certainly since the first spring of Jackie Sherrill, that you've had at Mississippi State camp.
David, one more question on that quarterback, deal. And you talk to different coaches; they do it different ways. I know that Dave Aranda at Baylor a couple years, or last year, he did that. He said, "Hey, look, we're going to name a starter after spring, and then we're going to give these guys, if they want to move on, they can move on. But we're going to go ahead and lock this thing up and figure the rest out." I know that Kalen DeBoer said that, "Hey, this is Jalen Milroe's team." Some kind of gasped at that, said, "Wow, why did he do that so early?" I actually think that is the right move. That way you're kind of honest with everybody, and you keep it, keeping everybody going in the same direction. And then that way if you need to go find somebody else to plug in, maybe another backup, because this thing's going to churn again for the next small window after spring practice. You go ahead and kind of just let bygones be bygones and see where people what they want to do.
Well, there's no great way to handle it when you have 2 transfer portal windows, and the next one starts about the time spring ball ends. So guys will have a fair chance, but here's what you do from a program standpoint. You don't go into August with some guys uncertain, do I really want to be here or not? I hate to put it in those kind of words, but that's really what it has become now, because increasingly you're seeing guys declare for the portal in September. Maybe they don't play, maybe they play a first game or don't even play at all. But I think it gives the guys a chance to make their move in the summer if you want to. Now, with the proviso, there may not be a landing spot for them. You always have to consider that. There's just not that many landing spots out there at the Power 4 level, which guys have to understand that. But at least it gives them a fair chance to do it. I think something's really got to be done about the winter portal. I think it has to start later. I really do. You can't just start it when teams haven't even started their bowl prep yet. But that's for the NCAA and eventually the breakaway body for college football, which I fully expect to happen sometime later this decade to settle the transfer things. For right now, Jeff Levy's being straight up with them, and especially his quarterbacks. And by the way, one guy I want to put a plug for, I haven't even seen. All I have is second accounts of him. They tell us that Mario Craver is tearing it up at the wide receiver position already in some of these drills, and he's not that far ahead of several of the new receivers. You're going to see a drastically different looking receiver corps for whoever is the quarterback from Mississippi State to throw to.
Make sure to find him on X, and of course check him out at Gene's page, also on Facebook. David, I appreciate your time. Look, have a great week, and look, we'll do it again soon.
Jake and Ben, always good to hear from you, and keep your head down with the weather.
Absolutely. Same here, David. Appreciate it. We're brought to you by Cowboy Maloney's 70 years in the business, Mississippi owned and operated, largest appliance inventory in the state. Make sure to text us 601-885-3776. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go back.
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens
Right here.
On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by BCI. Go to bcipeople.com or call 601-427-4185. Managed IT services, data backup solutions, ransomware protection, disaster recovery planning, and more. bcipeople.com. Appreciate David Murray jumping in. We'll have Chris Landry 4 to 4:30 on a Monday. One text here says, be careful on your way home. Kids' daycares are closing early. Yep, I saw some of that. So be careful on your commutes and keep an eye on the sky. All right, let's go to Space Ghost. Space Ghost, welcome in.
Hey, I must have missed that. When's the bad weather supposed to get here?
Here in the next few hours.
Really? Okay.
Just keep your eyes
open. My
open.
daughter's at work, so anyway, I was curious to see how many of your Sweet 16 you still had alive.
Let's see here. Let me look. Oh, man. I have one. Let's see. 2, 3. Oh, let's see here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 16. But my entire Final Four is still intact.
My Final Four is as well, and I've got 15 out of 16. Yeah.
Now, why are you going to call and lie on that?
I'm not. You're looking at it. I misspoke when I told Beaver that. I said South Carolina, but I picked Auburn, and that was the only one that didn't get in.
Who's your Final Four?
Illinois, Arizona, Marquette, Purdue, and I've got Marquette winning the whole thing.
You got a dead bracket then. You just don't know it.
Oh, I'm sure. But I got to brag while I can.
Absolutely, as you should. Very good.
I mean, it's gonna be gone next Saturday. I mean, it's gonna be blown up.
But you never know. You got 15 to 16, so you're still alive.
Yeah. All right, sir. Y'all have a great day.
See ya. Let's go to Gator Matt. Matt, welcome in.
I mean, if they would have called a foul, guy pushed off. I mean, good grief. That's not a foul, Jake, at the end of that game.
It looked like it.
I'm just listening to that laugh. First of all, he's lying. 15. Okay, go back to wherever and lie to somebody else. 15 out of 16, you know what? That was a push. Did you watch the game, Jake?
Yes, I did.
You don't think he pushed off at all at the end? That wasn't a foul. They called every other thing for a foul.
Yeah. No, it looked like there was a push off there for sure.
Ridiculous. Anyway.
So who are you pulling for now?
What I called. Who, me? I could care less, Jake. I haven't watched a single game since. If they're not going to rep it correctly.
Right.
No, but in all seriousness, I'm kind of rooting for NC State. But, I don't know. They'll probably lose. I mean, Florida had it lined up for themselves. I mean, they had everything in front of them. but you do have to. I mean, they scored 17. I mean, it was worse than their football defense. I mean, I think Colorado would now score 17 trips in a row. I mean, good Lord. But, you score 100 points, you should win most of those games. I don't know what to tell you.
No doubt.
But I will say this. Jack Caglione, Jake, he's the real deal. Have you seen a baseball player like him in the last 10 years?
It's been a while. He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Yep, he is pretty good.
But LSU fans, it'll be all right. See ya.
See ya. 601-897-1059. More Bully said his Space Ghost high. He says, my driver's side door was nearly taken off the hinges at Kroger by this wind. Wow. So that is some pretty bad wind out there. So be careful out there. We'll have Chris Landry coming up at the top of the hour. Let's see. Space Ghost sends 3 attachments. And let me look at this. My bracket. So he's sending us screenshots of his bracket. Okay. How do we know that's his bracket, though? He could be taking somebody else's phone and taking those screenshots. I have no idea. We'll say that it's his, though. We'll say that it's his. Hey, looking at some of these other coaches, and let me see here. In basketball, Bruce Pearl makes right at $5.7 million per year. Rick Barnes, Tennessee, makes $5.7. Scott Drew out at Baylor, $5.1. Dan Hurley, $5 million at UConn. Brad Underwood, Illinois, makes $4.7. Kelvin Sampson, Houston, makes $4.6. Nate Oates at Alabama makes $4.5. And let's see here. Where was some more of those? I found them. Anyway, I'll get back into that. Hey, watch Notre Dame. Just a sidebar note in recruiting. Notre Dame continues to do really, really well in football recruiting. And it's since they have made the move to Marcus Freeman, they have recruited as good as they have recruited in a number of years. Now, they did a really good job under Brian Kelly, but he has taken this thing to a different level. Now, I know it's early, but 2025, top 25 in recruiting, football recruiting, courtesy of 247sports.com. Notre Dame sits number 1 in the country. Oddly, Brian Kelly, Notre Dame sits number 2. Again, we got a long way to go with this thing, but they have done a really, really good job. Clemson sits at number 3, Ohio State 4, Penn State 5, Alabama 6, Auburn number 7, Oklahoma 8, Wisconsin 9, and Texas Tech sits at number 10. Just some notables here. Watch Southern Methodist. They continue to recruit well. They're at number 17. Florida, the Gators are at 25. Billy Napier lives in the top 25 in recruiting. He just, up to this point, we'll see if he's even the coach for Florida next year. Updated national championship odds, courtesy of 247 Sports for football. Georgia, plus 275. Ohio State, plus 475. Then you got Texas at 6.5 to 1. Oregon, 9 to 1. There's your value bet. There's your champion at 9 to 1. Alabama 13, Ole Miss 15 to 1, followed by LSU at 20 to 1, Florida State 25 to 1, Notre Dame 25 to 1, and Penn State 25 to 1. These are courtesy of Las Vegas Sportsbook, and of course those change depending on the books you go to. If you go over here to AmeriStarCasino.com/Vicksburg and grab the Bet Builder, you can get in and check out their national championship odds, courtesy of Penn Gaming. For instance, I'll give you that real quick just as a check. NCAA football, Georgia plus 325, Ohio State 4.5 to 1, Texas 7 to 1, Oregon 8.5 to 1, Alabama, Ole Miss at 11 to 1. So you're looking at Bama, Ole Miss again. The odds still the same. LSU at 14 to 1, Notre Dame 14 to 1. Then you get Michigan 16 to 1, Clemson 20, Penn State 20. So Florida State 25. You kind of go down from there. 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Some other stories that we'll get into throughout the day, ranking top quarterbacks from 2020 to 2024 in the draft classes, how some of these quarterbacks kind of line up against some of their peers. Also, updated mock draft, potentially history-making day on the first day of the draft coming up next month, as they're expecting 4 quarterbacks to go with the top 4 picks now. We'll get into some of that. Also, exiting Notre Dame athletics director addressing expansion, realignment, and college sports' immensely uncertain future. That's Jack Schwarbick. He speaks with Dennis Dodd. We'll get into some of that. And then also plans for Florida State Clemson remain unclear after rivals if rivals successfully exit the ACC. Also, we'll get into some other. Miami has caught a stray piece of shrapnel from the ACC lawyers during these Florida State hearings, And then a lot of NFL news as well. The Patriots pull ultimate disrespect move by giving away players' jersey in a free team store. And Dallas Cowboy fans call for Jerry Jones to sell the team after a dismal start to the offseason. Also, Fed sees almost $3 million worth of fake Chiefs, Royals, and Kansas Jayhawks championship rings. We'll get into more of that as well. A lot going on. We'll get with Chris Landry coming up here at the top of the hour. We're brought to you by Clinton Body Shop, 601-924-2159. OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust. Back in a bit.
The number you have reached.
WRKS Pickens Jackson. From college football to the NFL to high school football. 365 days a year. Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority. Live and local at 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com. Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour 2 on a Monday, brought to you by Mississippi Legends Grill. Everybody knows your name at Mississippi Legends Grill. Bingo, trivia, kids eat free, all the stuff you like. Michelob Ultra, Bud Light. Please drink responsibly, courtesy of our good friends at Southern Beverage. Get a game on one of the many TVs in the building. Get an appetizer and a meal as well. Get the lunch special on Facebook.com/Mississippi Legends Grill. We'll get Chris Landry on here in just a few minutes and talk a little NFL and college. David Murray joined us hour number 1, talking Mississippi State sports. Some other stuff that we're looking at. Deion Sanders threatens to pull an Eli if Shedeur and Travis Hunter are drafted by the wrong NFL teams. We'll get into some of that. Also, Jerry Jones' ridiculous, nonsensical notes at the NFL's league meetings. They go viral, so a lot to get into as we get Chris on here in just a second. We'll get into this Kentucky Booster story later on. Kentucky Booster details NIL disconnect behind the scenes of basketball program. Also want to get into some more of this Clemson and Florida State ACC business and 4 key questions on what could possibly happen with this. And then, of course, every question that's here, I mean, it's going to have massive implications as far as what to expect or not to expect with the ACC. Also, exiting Notre Dame AD addresses expansion, realignment, and college sports' immensely uncertain future. We'll get into some of this. Dennis Dodd spoke with Jack Swarbrick, the exiting athletics director at Notre Dame, and got his thoughts on several things. Of course, Swarbrick has been instrumental over the last number of years in college sports and contributing to the college football playoff and more. Also, questions for each Big 12 football team, how Colorado's Deion Sanders takes maybe that next step in year 2, and more. Of course, spring practice going on right now around college football. Talking with David Murray last hour, if you missed it, talking about Mississippi State's quarterback room and everything going on there as well. When you look at Mississippi State, he says, Jeff Levy said, hey, look, we're gonna make sure that we name a quarterback by the end of the spring, and off and running we go with everything there. So we'll see what happens inside Ole Miss and Mississippi State's camps, so to speak, as spring practice happens. All right, 2024 NFL free agency, the Texans rise, and other underrated storylines that we're looking at by CBSSports.com. With the free agency kind of over at this point, the wide receiver extension market for the best wide receivers in the NFL are up for extensions, including the best pass catcher in quote the world in Justin Jefferson. Others to keep an eye on: CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys, Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals, and Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers. To be more specific, you can make the argument that 3 of the top 5 receivers in the league are looking for new contracts, meaning these 3 guys are likely to reset the market, potentially surpassing Tyreek Hill's $30 million per year average. It goes on to talk about someone's got to go first, and you can see the new, quote, floor for the other 2 who will use the new contract to leverage their own, depending on the numbers included in the contract, and taking this incredible incoming crop of wide receivers into consideration. Could a trade be coming for some of the top wide receivers in the National Football League? Instead of paying a receiver, say, $30 million per year, could a team trade that wide receiver to another club and pay him much like the Kansas City Chiefs did with Hill a couple of off seasons ago, and then take their new number 1 wide receiver early in 2024? The Houston Texans are doing things the right way. The Texans were the surprise story of the 2023 season after winning 11 total games from 2020 to 2022. Houston won 11 games, including the playoffs in 2023, and were the AFC South champions. So, nobody really saw that coming from DeMeco Ryans. But when you look at kind of the turnaround he's had, it's been pretty phenomenal. Chris Landry, every Monday right here, 4 to 4:30. We appreciate him jumping in. Go to LandryFootball.com and, of course, on X at Landry Football. Chris, welcome in. How are you?
Thanks. Apologize for being tardy. It's been a hectic day for a number of reasons. But good to be with you as always.
No, I appreciate you jumping in here with us. Let's get right to it in the NFL. I want to go to this rule change in tackling and get your thoughts on this first. When I watched some of the, Tom Pelissero put this out on X. You probably saw it. Kind of the video that they showed in these meetings, banning the swivel hip drop tackle.
Right.
Boy, this is going to. I understand where their mind is, but I could see where this is going to get dicey for just about everybody in the league.
Here's the thing that people understand: why is it happening? Wasn't that many plays that it was involved in during the year? I say this all the time, but, you got to say it every time because you got to hammer it into people's heads that anything to do with player safety. And I know we laugh at that because we say, oh, yeah, but we're going to play Thursday night games after Sunday, and that doesn't affect safety. Of course it does. But that's money involved, so we're not going to do anything about that. But that's fine, and look, I'm not complaining. That's just the way it is. Any rule that is justifiable by, hey, players are getting injured because of it, they're going to make it. And why is that? Not because, they care about player safety. But what they care about is any litigation, of which the NFL's been a part of many, if they don't do everything, every possible rule that comes up that involves player safety, it's going to be rushed through. Why? Because if they get sued, they can go back and say, look, in court, it's a violent game. We have done everything we can to make it safe as possible, including, look, we had 22 rules that have come in across our desk through the competition committee, all with player safety. We have ratified them all. We are trying to do players. So that's what it's for. Understand that. Now, to your point, sure, it's going to have an effect. Look, this is part of a technique that's changed in tackling because you can't go high anymore. And why can't you go high anymore? Hit the replay button of what I just said. Safety. You can't go lower anymore. What? Safety. So it becomes an issue, and it just makes it difficult. Yeah, it's going to cause a problem. It's called hawk tackle. It is initiated by Rocky Cito, who's a former Seahawks assistant coach, and Pete Carroll. They developed a new way to tackle that defenders, Dick, have got to get these guys on the ground. Can't get them high, can't get them low, but this is another one that has caused some injuries. So, boom. So, look, I'm on board with everybody that says, oh, my God, this is ridiculous. It's unfair. It's too much. I get it. I just spent probably way too much time explaining why it's happened, and it's going to continue to happen. And that's it.
Chris, does it make it a nightmare for defensive coaches and position coaches to now really re-examine how to teach tackling, if that makes sense?
It's been a nightmare for a while.
Yeah.
So it's a recurring nightmare. Yeah, it doesn't make it one. It's been made one. And, yeah, and look, this is why, too, fans need to understand that, and I think the media needs to understand that this is why we have to judge defenses differently. You can't sit there and compare stats to years ago because you can't do the same things defensively. You've got every rule is really to benefit offense. So when people say, yeah, well, defense is not as good as it used to be, what's wrong, Chris? That's number one. That's it. We just spent time talking about why. It's more difficult to play it. So when you can play defense and give up 24 points a game, that's good. That'll get you beat in the 70s. 24 points is going to win you most games in the 70s. 24 points today, probably not unless you're playing a bad offense. which is kind of why things have changed. That's why, everything is going to, okay, who the quarterback and playmakers, offense, and then who can get who can affect the offense, who can beat the pass protectors. It's the pass rushers and the cover guys. So, yeah, it's a nightmare for defensive coaches, and it's another reason why people don't look as fondly, and I think this is wrong, about defensive coaches for head coaching opportunities. Because a lot of them do a good job, but fans will say, but I saw, his team get beat. Yeah, join the club. Just because you're a really good coach doesn't mean you're going to be able to shut out people defensively unless you're playing a bad offense. And if you're a good leader, you can become a good head coach, whether you're coaching offense, defense, or special teams. But this is not new. We're not making news today. What we're doing is re-emphasizing and put the stamp on old news stories about how the game has changed over the years. Well, it's only going to continue to do so in the same fashion that it has for quite a bit of time.
Chris Landry, make sure to find him on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. We've got to take a time out. We come back, we'll carry on. We are brought to you by the MHSAA. Officially become official today, 601-924-6400. More information online at MISSHSAA.com. Back in a bit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on the Zone1059.com.
Brought to you by Sound Communications. It is the Afternoon Drive. Find them online at soundcomav.com. They've been around since 1955. Let them help you in your school, place of worship, or church, medical facility, government buildings, and more. Go to soundcomav.com. Chris Landry, segment 2 on a Monday. Make sure to find him at Landry Football, and then, of course, that's on X and LandryFootball.com. Chris, it looks like there's going to be some wide receiver extension contracts coming up for the likes of Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb with the Dallas Cowboys, Jamar Chase for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Brandon Ayuk for San Francisco. I guess the question is this, is you would think, with Tyreek Hill's $30 million per year average, that floor will be set again. At what point, if you have a CeeDee Lamb and it gets extremely expensive, and I know, there's some jockeying with the salary cap, kind of moving that whole thing up and everything, but at what point do you look younger like the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill and just move on?
I think it depends on the team, depending on the situation. The Cowboys are more likely to spend the money. The Vikings will probably spend the money as they are now focusing on where they're going to go at quarterback, but they need to and would like to revolve it around a guy like Justin Jefferson, who's young as well and probably as good a receiver as there is in football. At least he's graded out that way for me. I think the biggest thing is, look, I think you have to look at it, and to answer your question is in each situation, like in Kansas City, they had a lot of talent. In Tyreek Hill, they wanted him back, but they can't pay everybody. So they had to make the move, and they're kind of had to go a little bit cheaper because the quarterback had to get paid. And so everybody's in that situation. Now, the Cowboys, they got to redo Dak's deal, if that's what they're going to do, or let it ride. All that's going to affect what they can pay, CD or anyone. Obviously, they decided to not pay the tackle due to injuries and commitment there and due to their cap situation. So I think the interesting thing is, here's what goes on in the negotiations. You mentioned all those guys. Who goes first, or more importantly, who goes last? And I think, because basically you work in this league off of other contracts. Well, JJ's going to probably get the best one, so he's going to want to see what everybody else gets. So, if you're trying to get 5, and I'm just throwing a number out, I'm not talking about $5 million, it's going to be a lot more than that, then you want to see all those guys. All of a sudden, you think they're somebody else that's not you're the top of the and somebody gets 7, then you're going to be asking for 8. You see where I'm going with it?
Sure.
So the price only goes up depending on who goes first. So we'll see what IU can do. Now, the key is, can you get a good deal? Can you convince them to sign and give them a lot of upfront money? Do you have the cap to do that? Can you spread it out over the life of the contract? The other thing to keep in mind, we had a pretty nice jump in a cap number this year. So, it's kind of like giving you more budget. Look, think of the salary cap fans out there as a credit card. Everybody in the league just got a credit, increase. So, I mean, they got a little bit more credit allowed to them so they can put more on that credit card. And so I think some teams are going to be willing to do it and pay it off over time. Some may want to be a little more prudent, and it's just going to depend individually where the teams are cap-wise.
Chris, let me ask you about the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans, and what they're doing. It looks like they are really, the momentum that organization has looks extremely strong. And behind, obviously, with C.J. Stroud and what he has turned into really quickly as their quarterback, that the future looks extremely bright for the Houston Texans.
I agree. I think the first thing seems like a much-needed culture adjustment with D'Amico, who's kind of going back home for them because he was one of theirs. And he's just really clicked with the players and everything. And look, certainly they got talent led by the quarterback, as you've alluded to. But if you look at that roster, the quarterback was the difference last year. You look at him and you say, man, how'd they get there? I watched the games and I'm like, man, the complete package was better than the individual parts. And so my thing is, okay, they've gotten a little bit better. And so talent-wise in this offseason, and you're alluding to that. So how much better will they get? Well, I think potentially, but we don't know. We don't know about injuries. And we don't know how things are going to change, how people are going to play C.J. Stroud differently. They're going to have a better feel for him. They're going to be gunning for him a little bit more. Now there's an expectation level, too. They were as big of a jump from expectation to reality as anybody last year. Now, the expectation is win the division next year again. And, oh, by the way, maybe, go further in the playoffs. Well, you know what that means, right? So if you go ahead and you win 10 games and you make the playoffs and you lose, then it's okay, well, you're not meeting it. So expectations are higher, so they're going to be different. And I think the division is, you can have some success there, but Indianapolis, maybe they make a jump if they get healthy at quarterback with Anthony Richardson. The Tennessee's got a little ways to go. Jacksonville had a little bit of a collapse. How will they respond? I think those three teams are really good, and you got Tennessee that's probably bringing up the rear.
Make sure to find him on X at Landry Football, of course, LandryFootball.com. Chris, real quickly, your thoughts of as the hourglass turns, so to speak, in the ACC with Clemson and Florida State, and you've got the ACC kicking back. And Jim Phillips saying, hey, look, no, this is, we're going to stand our ground. It feels very similar to what was going on with George Klavikov in the Pac-12, and then ultimately that whole thing unfolded. Are we seeing a repeat of what happened in the Pac-12?
I think we are, with one exception, and the legal scholars will have to jump in and take my place here. But let's remind folks, the Pac-12 had no grant of rights. So USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington could pick up and leave with no penalty. The ACC right now, there is a grant of rights. Now, Clemson, after Florida State did it, are now suing that it's unfair and what have you. I don't know legally. I don't know what that means legally. I don't know if it can be contested and won, and I don't know who'd win. I have no clue. Just guess, flip a coin and guess. I don't know. So there's more obstacles there. So it's a little more cumbersome to deal with. But yes, it feels like, and I actually did something today, about 45, 50 minutes ago about that on one of my podcasts about just that. It feels like it's going to collapse, which again, let's remind folks why people said, well, why would they bring in Cal, Stanford, and SMU? It makes no sense. Remember, the grant of rights agreement says that if they fall below a certain number of teams, then the grant of rights is revoked. So by putting Cal, Stanford, and SMU, they're anticipating, Jim Phillips is, that they're going to lose 2 teams or more, or maybe 3. So this allows them to still hold to the grant of rights agreement to the other schools like North Carolina, Miami, et al., because there's the right number or enough number of teams in the program. But yeah, it kind of looks like everyone's a little different. You got the Power 2, and then Pac-12 is folded, as you mentioned, and then the Big 12 has done a good job with numbers, and it looks like they've settled in to look. We're not the big boys anymore, but we're going to have a good conference, and we're going to have a whole bunch of people. You wonder if the ACC is going to try that model. If they lose Florida State, Clemson, can they go? I mean, who's still left? Will they go and maybe get somebody? You know, they've always stuck up their nose at somebody like West Virginia academically. Will they look at people and say, can we do something? Can they offer something better than the Big 12? Good question. And all questions that today I might have a different answer for you than 6 months or a year from now, depending on how these lawsuits or threats of lawsuits come out.
Make sure to grab him on X at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Get the podcast. Chris, always appreciate your time. Have a great week, and we'll do it again next week.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Chris Landry on your radio. Brought to you by our friends at Capital Orthopedic. Online at CapitalOrtho.com. Move better, be better, live better with Capital Orthopedic. 6 locations to help you in Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Online at CapitalOrtho.com. And then, of course, you can call 601-987-8200. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back. I'm ready. It's more The Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
Appreciate Chris Landry jumping in on your radio. Find him at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. We're brought to you by Bryce Boykin and Boykin Contractors. Licensed contractors, bonded and insured, here to help you with any remodeling needs. Also, they are licensed roofers as well. They can help you with any kind of repairs or inspections as well. 601-951-7336. That's 601-951-7336. Or on Facebook.com/Boykin Contractors as well. Let's see here on the text line. Dog Tired Florence, public service announcement. The new product, Spice Coca-Cola, is awful. Have you had this? I haven't. Yeah, that sounds awful. I have not seen that. All right, let me get into some other stuff here as we kind of chalk through some of these stories. You know, with everything going on with this ACC deal, Florida State and the ACC are currently, of course, we know, tied in a lawsuit together. Wide-reaching ramifications, and there's plenty at stake for both of the parties, as well as the rest of the teams in the conference, including the University of Miami, which called a brutal stray during a hearing last Friday, or part of the hearing. There were already plenty of rumblings. Florida State was angling to exit the ACC prior to the start of the most recent college football season, and the tides officially turned when it was deprived of a spot in the college football playoff, of course, thanks in part to a perceived weakness of the conference. And the university has belonged to that conference since 1991. In December, FSU filed a lawsuit against the ACC that argued the conference breached its contract by failing to, quote, maximize athletic opportunities and revenue for its biggest program, although it was beaten to the punch by an organization that filed a motion of its own in order to have the case heard in the North Carolina appeals court as opposed to Florida. Florida State is attempting to argue the grant of rights deal, which runs through 2036, violates antitrust laws, which simultaneously argued the steep exit penalties that come with leaving prematurely is unforeseeable. And on Friday, lawyers representing the schools and the ACC got a chance to start pleading their case in front of Judge Lewis A. Bledsoe III. ESPN's David Hale headed to the courthouse in Charlotte to cover the proceedings with the help of a lengthy Twitter thread. That's a fantastic resource if you're looking for some summary of kind of what happened. That thread included a recap of what went down when an attorney representing the ACC asserted the Sunshine State is home to 3 college football programs that can be considered members of the Power Five. That, of course, would be Florida State, Florida, and Central Florida, a trio of astute readers may realize that does not include the Miami Hurricanes. So, when you get into this, David Hale said, finally, something FSU may like. ACC lawyers say there are 3 Power 5 universities in the state of Florida: Florida State, Florida, and Central Florida. So they're not even counting Miami as one of the powers, which I still think Miami has a seat at the table. It could be the Big Ten table. I don't know that it's the SEC table, but there's definitely going to be a seat at the table. Dallas Cowboy fans call for Jerry Jones to sell the team after a dismal start to the offseason. It's been nearly 3 decades since the Dallas Cowboys have won anything to note. The former perennial power in the NFL ended this past season in embarrassing fashion yet again. And after an initial free agency period that saw such stars as Tyrone Smith walk out the door and little coming back in, Cowboy fans have had enough of team owner Jerry Jones. A lot of people asking Jones to sell the team, relieve himself of duties of the team. Dallas area radio host Bob Sturm ramped up calls for Jones to sell the team after the owner said that they couldn't afford to keep Smith in free agency. Jones has repeatedly cited the salary cap as the reason the organization's inactivity in free agency, but the evidence shows that this isn't the case. The Cowboys had multiple avenues to open up a significant amount of cap space before free agency began. Dallas could have extended quarterback Dak Prescott, who is entering the final year of his contract. The Cowboys could extend and restructure CeeDee Lamb's contract. They could also restructure Trevion Diggs' 5-year contract, but they have not done any of this. So a lot of people are saying, hey, it's time to pull the plug on Jerry Jones, and it's time for him to pull the plug on this team. Now, obviously, we know that's not going to happen, but again, the natives are somewhat restless, so to speak, in Dallas, as they probably should be. 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. We got an updated mock draft. We were talking about history possibly being made as quarterbacks selected with the first 4 picks. When you look at the updated mock draft, courtesy of CBSSports.com, Caleb Williams still at number 1, headed to the Chicago Bears. Number 2 would be Jaden Daniels to the Washington Commanders. Number 3, Drake May to the Minnesota Vikings. And there's a lot out of that camp. We talked about last week that Minnesota really likes Drake May. And then J.J. McCarthy at number 4 to the Denver Broncos. And that would be a record, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've seen 2 go before. We've seen 3 go before. We've never seen 4 in a row go before. Kind of when you go through this, it still has the same feel. Pick number 5. Right now projected Joe Alt, offensive tackle to the Chargers. That would be Jim Harbaugh's first pick. He's from Notre Dame, 6'7", 322-pound tackle. Marvin Harrison Jr., projected to the New York Giants, 6th pick, number 7 pick. Got an offensive tackle from Penn State, Fashunu, and I'm not going to try his first name. Big offensive tackle, Penn State, number 7. Number 8, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU to the Arizona Cardinals. Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington to the Chicago Bears. And, look, that would be interesting if you got Odunze and Caleb Williams for the Chicago Bears, 2 picks inside the top 10. And you would think that would give them a little bit of a boost. Offensive tackle from Oregon State to the Jets at pick number 10. So, right now you're looking at 4 quarterbacks, 1, 2, 3 wide receivers, and then a few offensive linemen is where this mock draft is turning. If you want to look at some other guys, the Raiders with an offensive tackle at pick 13, at least projections. The Saints, offensive tackle from Georgia, Amarius Mims at 14. You've got the Colts going corner in this mock draft, just kind of looking through some of these notes here. Brock Bowers, pick 18 to the Bengals at tight end. That would be interesting. I mean, if you put Jamar Chase with Brock Bowers and Joe Burrow, that could be kind of deadly. And then you look at my Miami Dolphins looking defensive line. Kool-Aid McKinstry corner to the Eagles, and that would make sense. I mean, look, the Eagles have really lived on the Southeastern Conference, especially defensive side of the ball, predominantly Georgia, but some other teams as well, so that would make sense. And then, for Cowboy fans, they're at least looking offensive tackle, I think, early. Graham Barton right now from Duke, a guy that they could be looking at. And then all the way down at the end. Chiefs go wide receiver, Xavier Worthy. Beavers 49ers go offensive tackle, and Tyler Gooden. So that's just some of the recently projected NFL mock draft picks in the first round. All right, real quickly here. NFL players rage at approval of controversial tackling rule. We talked about that with Chris Landry. And it'll make defense is just going to get worse. It's just going to be harder and harder to play defense. As the NFL has officially voted to ban the hip drop tackle at the 2024 league meetings, which are being held in Orlando from March 24th through the 27th. So they'll go another couple days here. We'll get some more information out of that. According to reports, the competition committee voted unanimously to change the rule. Teams flagged for the hip drop tackles and will be penalized 15 yards. An automatic first down will be given to the offense. The NFL's competition committee has officially defined hip drop tackle as when a player unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. Jake, is Mississippi State baseball back? They are looking like their old selves and are competitive. Foxhall must have really been the problem. Also, do you still stand by your statement that MSU will not win the series versus Ole Miss in baseball? If so, you are a greater propagandist than Kim Jong-un, Baghdad Bob, and Anthony Fauci put together. Now, I don't think I ever said that State would lose to Ole Miss. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. Do you remember if I said that?
You very specifically said that they would probably not win a single series this SEC season.
Can I walk that back just a little bit?
No.
Got to stay with it. All right, then, JC, I guess I am. Ole Miss is going to win the series. Since I got to stay with it. Do you think State baseball is...
Well, you might as well go in now because they've already won a series.
Yeah.
So you were already incorrect on this. So I guess you got to find something here to go against JC on.
Let me think about that. And we'll come up with something. We're brought to you by Wint McGee. He is the mortgage man. Call or text 601-906-7074 or head over to mortgagemanms.com for more information. And a reminder, regardless of your buying experience, when you choose Bank of England Mortgage, you are eligible for a no-cost refinance when rates improve even more. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quiverly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Jenny King. They are the king of clean. Go to jennykingcleans.com right now. Let them help you in your school, church, venue, even stadiums. Hey, you can, a lot of stadiums around here. High school guys, high school athletics directors. You could use this as well, and arenas as well. Go to jennykingcleans.com for more information. All right, let me read you some of these comments. NFL players reacting to the league banning the hip drop tackle. This is just a few. J.J. Watt says, and these are all responses on X, just fast forward to the belts with flags on them. Let's see. Terrell Burgess, how do you ban something that in some cases you can't control? And I would agree with that. Like if you, man of leisure, Mr. Producer, catch a swing pass out of the backfield, and I or JC is coming at you full speed, and it's a collision, and then I'm trying to get you down, how do I just not let my hips do the swivel and the bump and the hook? And how does that even happen? Javon Holland, breaking news, tackling banned. He is correct. Mike Davis, as an offensive player, this is wild. LOL. Lonnie Johnson, all NFL players, this new rule is BS. Joshua Medalis, competition committee doesn't care about defense. Every year they make it harder for us to succeed. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And I don't know how in the world these guys are going to – there's no way I'd be a defensive coordinator. Could you imagine being a defensive coordinator nowadays? Your corners can't touch. You can't bump and run. Now you can't tackle. What's the alternative? How can the league fix this? Should we just go to flag? What would you do? We got to come up with a plan here. Like, you got to help us. We need a plan to take to the NFL to fix this, because this is stupid. Do you have any ideas? Maybe we just put flags on them. JC, I would love to look up things that did not exist the last time Ole Miss won a baseball series versus Mississippi State. Britain was still in the European Union. The Cubs were still on the World Series drought. Very well done, JC. Hey, State has done well. But, yeah, this is a lot of back and forth on this. And, again, the players are not and I'll hit the retweet button on this. They are not happy about this, and I don't blame them. Again, it makes it very, very tough. Again, there's just nothing you can do. Somebody says keep tackling in football, like a sign that just says keep tackling in football. You can't even hit the quarterback anymore. What can you do defensively? I mean, at least at the high school level, you can still tackle a little bit. Are we going to see this get down to the high school level? College level? I mean, seriously, at some point, this becomes flag football. It really, really does. If you're not going to let people, JC just keeps naming Obama was president. Like, I love it. JC just keeps naming the last time Ole Miss won a series. So we'll see. Players are not receptive to this at all, and I can't say that I blame them. Let's see. And that'll be a 15-yard penalty, automatic first. You know what's going to be really bad? And you know this is going to happen. The first time it's a third down and long in a big ball game, and somebody runs a crossing route, ball's caught, defensive back makes the play, what would be a stop and a fourth down, and there's a penalty flag thrown for this. I wonder what the sign for the hip drop tackle is going to be from the official. And how excited will they be to turn the microphone and go personal foul, hip drop tackle, 15-yard penalty, first down. Maybe we should all, if we could ever open up an alternate NFL that would work, we'd bring back tackling. Could we succeed with doing that, like real tackling? The Price is Right has a contingency plan for contestants that pee on themselves. I didn't know this was a thing, but I'll get into this in hour number 3. There was a gambler over the weekend bet $1,000 on every March Madness underdog. Every one of them. And here's how they've done so far. An estimated $2.7 billion was wagered over the weekend on March Madness, and everyone is getting into the action, it seems. And, of course, everybody has a unique March Madness strategy. By the way, coming up in the third hour, I'll tell you who won round 1 and round 2 in our bracket challenge, including one gambler who bet $1,000 to $100 on every underdog in the tournament last year. Betting $100 on every underdog in the 2023 NCAA tournament, the gambler ended up winning $1.9 thousand, $1,900. And so this year they have a new strategy. They decided to do $1,000 in the NCAA tournament play-in games. He was up $1,100 profit. Then on Thursday, Matty Betts, as they call him, said that he had a historic day with 5 wins, 11 losses, and a $2,700 net profit, which brought him up to $3,800 in March Madness. On Friday, he saw 6 wins, 10 losses for $3,300 in profit, bringing it to $7,100. So Saturday, he went 0 for 8. Now he's down to a net minus $900. And then his followers were eager to wait for Sunday's action. And in the second round of the NCAA tournament, favorites were 15 of 16 in round 2. and 11-5 against the spread. This is not good for somebody betting thousands on the underdogs. Favorites went 7 of 8 on Sunday, with the only underdog winning coming from number 6 Clemson, and they're upset against Baylor, number 3 Baylor. And so right now, he would have lost $7,000 on other games, taking his total loss to $6,300 headed into the Sweet 16. So he's still betting on the Sweet 16, all underdogs, but he's going in the hole, deep in the hole. Let's see here. Tiger bait. The call for the hip drop tackle should be the Macarena. I like it. Yeah, I don't know that I like that strategy, though, of betting on all the underdogs. It says, looking ahead to the Sweet 16, Clemson is plus 240. San Diego State is plus 425. Alabama's plus 150, and it goes on to name kind of the odds for everybody. And I'll get you some odds from Ameristar as far as what these games are like. Shedeur Sanders claims he beat the odds with wildly misinformed quote about Texas high school football. We'll get into that as well. Go to AmeristarCasino.com/Vicksburg and get the bet builder today. And you can go ahead and get the lines for the games coming up this weekend. Let's see. NCAA basketball. Arizona is a 7-point favorite against Clemson. That's a Thursday tip, 6:09 p.m. San Diego State versus UConn. UConn is an 11-point favorite. That's a 6:39 tip. Alabama, North Carolina. North Carolina, a 4-point favorite. Thursday, 8:39 tip. Also, 9:09 tip. A lot of people griping about these late tips. Illinois versus Iowa State. Iowa State -2. Friday's games, NC State, Marquette. Again, that's a 6:09 tip. Marquette is a 6.5-point favorite. Gonzaga versus Purdue. Purdue a 5-point favorite. That's Friday at 6:39. And then Duke versus Houston. Houston is a 4-point favorite. 8:39 tip. And then the last game, Creighton versus Tennessee, 9:09 on Friday night. Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite in that ball game. 601-897-1059 if you want to give us a call. That is the Malone Roofing caller line. Again, several things we'll get back into as we move into hour number 3. And I'm looking through some notes here. Several things. I want to get into some of this Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders stuff. Also, SEC football as far as spring practice notes. There's some stuff out there as well. A lot to get into. Hour number 3 coming up in just a bit. Timeout on the floor. Back in a bit.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time
to take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 starts right now, courtesy of our friends at Capital Grill in Jackson, 5050 I-55 North. 18 TVs to get the game of your choice, handcrafted foods, beverage specials, and more. And, of course, get a game of pool, a Michelob Ultra, a Bud Light. Please drink responsibly, courtesy of Southern Beverage. Enjoy and forget about your work day at Capital Grill of Jackson. Change up your afternoon and do it with friends at Capital Grill of Jackson. Let's see. So far, David Murray joined us in Hour 1 talking Mississippi State sports. Chris Landry, 4 to 4:30. We got other stuff we'll get into this hour. If you want to text us, 601-885-3776. JC, let's see, Theranos was still a multi-billion-dollar company. So JC continues to tell us what happened. Cubby was still playing basketball. Hugh Freeze was still allowed in massage parlors. Let's see. He's telling us everything that was going on with Ole Miss, or in the world, last time Ole Miss won a baseball series against Mississippi State. All right, and be careful in the getting some reports. The wind's starting to kick up out there, so be careful. Watch the weather out there as you move along. All right, let's see here. We got to wake Beaver up. Let's talk some Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders threatens to pull an Eli if Shedeur and Travis Hunter are drafted by the wrong NFL team. Deion Sanders is already establishing his expectations for his son Shedeur and Travis Hunter Jr. in next year's NFL draft. They were will refuse to play for teams that he does not want them to play for. Sanders threatened to pull, quote, an Eli. Now, of course, his comments were made on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. That is a mouthful, by the way. The $1 Million Worth of Game podcast also pertained to his eldest son, Shiloh. However, the conversation mostly revolved around Shador and Hunter, who are likely to be drafted in the first round, if not the first, then the second. It depends on how things go this fall. Coach Prime predicts that Hunter and Shador are both going to be top 4 picks in the 2025 April 2025 draft. He firmly believes one of the two will be drafted first. The other will not slip past 4. Sanders put a caveat on the declaration. If one or all of the teams that does not want to draft them is picking in the top 4 and plans to pick either Hunter or Shador, that will not happen. Wait a minute. If one or all of the teams that does not want to draft them is picking in the top 4, that's not going to happen. Let's see. He's going to shut it down and pull an Eli. Of course, pull an Eli refers to Eli Manning. Archie did not allow the Chargers to draft his son at number 1. We remember that. And, of course, they simply refused to play for San Diego. As a result, of course, Manning was traded to the Giants shortly after being drafted, first overall in exchange for Phillip Rivers and a third-round pick. The deal was in place prior to the draft. Deion Sanders claims he is going to do the same for Colorado's quarterback and two-way star. He did not indicate which teams he, probably Shador and Hunter, would refuse. However, Coach Prime recently shared a singular concern with Caleb Williams which also applies to his son. All right, so what do you think about this? Deion Sanders saying, hey, I'm taking control of this. How would you like to be the agent for Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders? Whew, boy, that's you're going to make your money. You're going to earn it. You are going to earn it. What do you think about Deion Sanders over a year from next year? He's already putting this out here.
Okay, well, first off, let me say again that I'm real tired of you making sure that there are 2 topics you always ask, what do I think of? It's Deion Sanders and Jameis Winston. You always know what my answer is going to be. But whatever, it's nonsense to begin with, of course, because that's all he is, as said many times. But Travis Hunter is not your son. He has parents of his own, I'm sure. So why are you talking like you're going to make this decision like you are indeed his dad? You're Carl Williams of 2024 or 5. It'll be 5 by then.
It's a very weird flex. It's a very, very weird flex. I still believe that Deion Sanders will not be at Colorado after this year. I really don't. I think he's off to the NFL. Now, I know he said he didn't want to coach in the NFL, but I don't think that there's going to be a lot of motivation for him to stick at Colorado once Shador and Travis Hunter are gone. I mean, I could be wrong. But for him to be so heavily involved in the National Football League picks of these guys is very interesting. Let's go to Larry. Larry, welcome in.
Hey, guys, when y'all talk about these great topics, I just had to say something.
Come on.
Oh, so first of all, I would love to be an agent for the Sanders. You know why? Because I wouldn't have to do too much. Their dad
That's
is
true.
a forefather of one of the modern era of what football is today as far as marketing and backing up the product. Everybody can't do what Deion does. He's prime time. He's one of the only people that has his moniker is known more than his name. So, again, he can do that. So, yes, I would be glad to be his agent for his son. So, again, because he don't have to do nothing. If he says that he knows it, let's be honest. He's a former defensive MVP of the league. And he can't help this kid who his parents, if you look it up, his mother and his grandmother gave him grantorship to help out with Travis. Travis left Florida. He even was interested in Florida State because of Coach Sanders. So, again, he was only following his lead because of his father figure. We all know you touch and impact kids, and you don't have to be their biological parent. And you can, and he has that impact with that young man. nothing wrong with it. So again, he knows what's best for them because he did that. He did that. He paved the way for those athletes to get their money and still have their personality. And also, he had already, if he says he's talked to people who he was, and he said he's talked to GMs and owners who was in play when he played, and he said he talked to him, who's one of the greatest players of all time, I take his name and his word at face value. I'm sorry. Look, if he knows what he's doing and he showed he knows what he's doing, I take his word. And I call it that. No, everybody can't do that. If Archie Manning can do that, who did not do, I don't care how people from Ole Miss feel about him, he did not do what Deion did. Deion was the man in high school, college, and the NFL. Archie's sons just became what he wasn't. He just did a great job as grounding the foundation. Well, Deion is doing that plus more, plus the marketing. So it's awesome. Yes, and he can call me any day. I'd be glad to be his agent. That's a bonus check. But thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Larry. No, you're right. That would be here's the thing. Who knows? Deion may file with the NFLPA and get his own agency license. Very well could. It'll be fascinating to see. I still just don't think that Deion's going to be at Colorado after this year. I think he's probably off to the NFL. 601-885-3776 if you want to text the show. That, of course, is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. You can call us 601-897-1059. That's the Malone Roofing caller line. Looking back over here in the note stack, just some other things that I do need to get these winners out. I'll do that next segment. I'll go grab them off my desk in here. Excuse me. We talked a little earlier about some updated odds for the College Football National Championship. Also, Georgia running back Trevor Etienne arrested on 4 misdemeanor charges, including a DUI. Georgia continues to have issues with players and driving, and it's somewhat concerning if you look at what's going on over there. Also over there as in like in the Big Ten. On3 ranked the Big Ten coaches headed into spring practice. Ryan Day 1, Lincoln Riley 2, and Dan Lanning 3. I feel like over the last few years, Dan Lanning has, at least the last 2, had a bigger impact on his team than Lincoln Riley has done for USC. I'd probably switch those two, Lanning and Lincoln Riley. James Franklin at 4, Kirk Ferentz at 5, Luke Fickell at number 6, Matt Rule number 7. You know, when I look down through here, PJ Fleck at Minnesota at 13. Boy, he has kind of fallen off the map here. He was a very, very hot name 3, 4, 5 years ago, but he has fallen down this pecking order. Also, Greg Schiano does more with less at Rutgers, but he is at number 15. David Braun is the head coach at Northwestern. Ryan Walters at Purdue. And then Deshaun Foster at UCLA, and he is at the bottom because he is new. Jed Fish at Washington comes in at number 10. Brett Bielema, number 11. Let's see here. Possum Neck Joe. Beaver. The Weather Channel is in Jackson. They have us at Torcon 5. Oh, gosh. What does that even mean? Is that like a tornado warning? Torcon 5? I didn't even know the Weather Channel was in Jackson. Joe, thank you for that update. I'll have to figure out what that is. Hey, we're brought to you by Premier Plastic Surgery. And, of course, you can contact Dr. Erica Bass. Ask about the Awake I can never say that word. Liposuction. Liposuction, that could be your answer. Schedule a consultation today. Dr. Erica Bass at Mississippi's Premier Plastic Surgery, 601-981-2525. Back in a bit.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Taking you home on a Monday, brought to you by Bailey Lumber. Online at BaileyLumber.com. Open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Special selections vary by store. Limited to stock on hand. See store for complete details. You can find them at 2150 Mississippi Highway 471 in Brandon for GAF roofing specials. And, of course, legacy cabinets, Trex decking specials. Everything you need from lumber, supplies, windows, doors, hardware, and more. Go to BaileyLumber.com. That's BaileyLumber.com. You know, we don't know. It's year to year, right, on your roster. Now in all sports. I mean, from baseball in college, basketball in college, the NFL in college. You just don't know what your roster is going to look like. It's hard to project that because of the transfer portal. And again, I agree with Chris Landry. It's going to take some time this decade, or David Murray saying it rather, in hour number one, that, when this breakaway happens and we kind of get some stability in the way athletes are compensated for their play. But it's hard to project what rosters are going to be like. But Adam Rittenberg does a great job, ESPN senior writer, in the future of college football quarterbacks as far as quarterback rooms, because some of these teams are doing a much better job of navigating the transfer portal and facilitating their quarterback rooms. And he has looked into this and says, hey, look, this is the way he sees it over the next 3 years. Now, again, who knows who's going to be playing quarterback at Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Southern Miss or Jackson State in 3 years, right? We just, there's no way to know. But you can follow some trends, and you see how well some of these teams have done. For instance, Lane Kiffin has done a great job navigating the transfer portal. We know that, and putting guys in that quarterback room that can make a difference, and then moving those guys forward. I want to get into this, but first let's go to the phones. We got Mike on line one. Mike, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, Jake, how's it going?
Good, brother. What's going on?
I can barely hear you, man. It may be my phone. I'm not sure. But anyway, you had mentioned something about Prime possibly leaving Colorado and headed to the NFL. What capacity would he be heading to the NFL for? I'm confused on that one.
Yeah, the only thing, well, here's the thing. And I could be completely wrong on this, Mike. Completely wrong. I just don't know what's going to incentivize him once his sons have moved on. Because he's been, and rightfully so, like any father would, he's been all about, moving his guys forward, moving those guys up. I just feel like after that's done, I don't know how much the fire is burning for him to be a college football coach. In the NFL, what would that position look like? Maybe a position coach. Maybe he finds himself trying to get on the same team as a coach for his sons, because it looks like one of the things he does enjoy more than anything is to kind of enjoy that journey with his kids. He did it while he was a high school coach, obviously moved to Jackson State, now to Colorado. And, again, I'm just kind of reading tea leaves here. I could be wrong, but I would have to think some sort of a position coach, and maybe even lobbying for being on the team that his son Shador goes to.
Okay, I get it. I thought you may have been talking in terms of a head coach, and I don't see that happening at all. I mean, his plus is being a head coach in college is a recruiter, and obviously he can hire his own DC, OC, and all that. But in the pros, I don't see him being anything close to a head coach. Would you agree with that?
Not right now, but I mean, again, I don't know that any of us thought that he would be the head coach of a Power 5 university either.
I think it was because of recruiting more than anything with college, and that's a different animal,
sure,
obviously, when you get to the pros. So, but like you said, it may be where he might want to be an analyst on wherever Shador might go. So
yeah.
Anyway, those are my thoughts. I just wanted to get clarification on that.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Give us a call anytime. 601-897-1059. Do you think any NFL general manager would ever give him a shot as a head coach? Beaver?
I guess.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. There may be one out there that would give him a shot. I mean, he's an NFL guy, Hall of Famer, but I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be in college.
Well, he's already said at least twice that I remember that he has zero interest in going to the NFL. I mean, I don't believe him to begin with on most things. So if he does, then I'll show again all he does is talk. But, I mean, it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me either. Back to these quarterback rooms. Ohio State listed with the best as far as depth in quarterback room in the country as far as college is concerned. As of March 12th, on the roster, Will Howard, senior from Kansas State, young man named Devin Brown, junior Lincoln, Ken Holtz, sophomore Aaron Nolan. I mean, they are loaded in that quarterback room. You would think you're going to see some attrition after the spring. Julian Sayin, a freshman transfer from Alabama, Mason Riggs, Jr., Chad Ray, Senior. And, of course, Ohio State's rise to the top spot after a season when its quarterback play dropped off a bit, at least by the standard of Ryan Day's previous signal callers, underscores the power of the quarterback portal. The Buckeyes went to the portal and addressed an immediate need by adding Howard, who helped Kansas State to the Big 12 championship last year, or championship game, and then, of course, the championship in 2022. He had his best statistical season last fall, 2,643 yards and 24 touchdowns, 9 rushing touchdowns. Howard gives Day and new offensive coordinator Chip Kelly an experienced option that can really take this offense to a different level. When you look at down the road, it talks about, it said he should compete. It says Day and Kelly also have options for the future in Sayin and Nolan, ESPN's number 2 and number 5 quarterback prospects in the class of 2023. Sayin signed with Alabama in December, but transferred to Ohio State following the coaching change in Tuscaloosa. He should compete with Nolan, who committed to the Buckeyes in April, as early as the 2025 season. Although Ohio State may not be able to realistically keep both young quarterbacks, the team has options through 2026 that most teams would die for, really. They'd crave to have it. Texas comes in at number 2. Again, Quinn Ewers coming back this year. As of March 12th, you got Ewers, redshirt junior, Arch Manning, or Ewers, redshirt junior, Arch Manning, redshirt freshman, Trey Owens, a freshman, Cole Lord is a senior, and Joe Tatum is a junior. Of course, Sarkisian has long been viewed as an elite quarterback coach, but his ability to affect the position as a head coach has been somewhat in doubt until last season. You look at, and they are in good standing at least for the next few years. You're going to get Ewers this year. You'll probably get a couple years with Manning, and then you move into the Trey Owens era if he does stick around. Number 3, the Oregon Ducks. Dylan Gabriel, of course, comes over from Oklahoma. Dante Moore, sophomore from UCLA. They've also got several young quarterbacks, 1, 2, 3, 4 other guys that are young and then really, really good, at least statistically, as far as high school guys coming in. So they are set at number 3. Number 4, Georgia. Of course, Georgia, Carson Beck coming back as a starter on the roster as of March 12th. You have Beck. You've got Gunnar Stockton, a redshirt sophomore, Ryan Pogsley, a freshman, Colin Drake, a junior, Sam Bush, redshirt freshman. So they've got a lot of guys. And look, Georgia has had no problems, especially since Kirby Smart has been there, and even you can go back to Mark Richt, having good quarterbacks, or at least good quarterback rooms. Even with some of the attrition, I mean, Brock Vandegrift transferred to Kentucky. Dylan Raiola was going to sign with Georgia. Then he flips and he goes to Nebraska. So a really, really good quarterback room there at Georgia. Number 5, the USC Trojans. Obviously losing Caleb Williams this year, that stings, but they have a lot of positive momentum behind redshirt junior Miller Moss. A lot of people are high on this young man, and then of course they've got some other guys, including a UNLV transfer, Jaden Mayava. I think it's Mayava, Jaden Mayava. So, and a lot of people like his game. I was actually shocked that he went to USC because a lot of people felt like somebody would pick him up to give him a shot to play. Maybe it is USC. We're brought to you by Malone Roofing Services. ecmalone.com is their website. 8337-MALONE is how you can get in touch with them. Go to ecmalone.com. We come back, we'll go through some more of this. Text us 601-885-3776. Back in a bit.
With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Taking you home on a Monday, brought to you by Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road, 601-939-9184, 50-plus years. Foreign and domestic transmission repair at Ranco Transmission. We're also brought to you by Maristar Casino. Get out and play today. Texas 601-885-3776. I'll get back to these quarterback rooms. I do want to pass this along. Fed sees almost $3 million worth of fake Chiefs rolls in Jayhawks championship rings. The always busy U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the CBP offers were back at it again when they seized 90 fake Kansas City Chiefs, Royals, and Kansas Jayhawks championship rings. This time around, the CBP intercepted the counterfeit championship rings in Cincinnati. Quote, when a non-intrusive X-ray examination yielded inconclusive results and a physical exam was required, according to the press release. Once opened, the package was discovered to contain 40 2019 Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl rings, 20 1969 Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl rings, 15 1985 Kansas City Royal rings, and 15 2022 Kansas Jayhawk championship rings. And they've got them here, a big picture, just a lot of championship rings. It says, despite an import specialist from the Consumer Products and Mass Merchandising Center stating that the fake rings were poor quality, had inferior packaging, a low declared value, and were inaccurately declared and lacked security features, they were still deemed to have been worth $2.71 million if they had been real. The counterfeit rings originated from Hong Kong and were addressed to a residence in Atchison, Kansas. Quote, purchasing counterfeit sports memorabilia defunds our sports organizations and the money profited from selling fake merchandise, such as championship rings, is used to damage the United States economy and fund criminal enterprises. I didn't even know that this was a thing, like that people were hustling these things. Are you interested in buying a championship ring?
Well, I'm wondering, why is it all the same place? We're talking Kansas City, Kansas. Multiple sports, though.
It's a run in Kansas. Royals, Chiefs, Jayhawks.
Was this the guy? Was this all done by the guy that came on here a couple years ago selling those loose baseballs?
No. No, I have one of those. No, it's a different guy. He was in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
He was in Chicago. You didn't like his baseballs? It was Ole Miss championship baseballs. They're real baseballs.
He was about the Kevin Todd equivalent of sports memorabilia sales.
Lord have mercy. Can you imagine, though? Should we try to get into this? Maybe hawk us some fake championship rings and try to sell them?
Might as well.
We could go down to that flea market down there in Pearl. You know, they have that one by Kroger every Saturday. It's been there for like 20 years. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I used to go buy fake Oakleys back in the late 90s from there.
In the 90s. So it's been longer than a couple decades.
It's been forever.
So see, we could set us up a memorabilia table of fake championship rings. And I can't believe I'm even putting this out on the air. But it would be in your name, so I wouldn't get in trouble for it. What do you think about this? We could get all kinds of stuff. SEC championship rings, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but you probably shouldn't have told me that you were putting it under my name. You should have just done it.
Oh, man, the things people do. The things people do. Yeah, Jerry Jones' ridiculous, nonsensical notes at the NFL's league meetings go viral. More Jerry Jones news. The annual NFL league meeting kicked off on Sunday in Orlando, Florida, and Dallas Cowboy owner and general manager Jerry Jones is already making headlines. In a photo shared by the Dallas Morning News reporter David Moore, Jones's notepad was seen sitting in his lap. And among further inspection, the NFL world uncovered that on his notepad were nothing but nonsense, scribbles, and doodles. This is fantastic. I'm going to show you this picture. This is Jerry Jones' notepad at the NFL meetings. What do you say?
I don't even know what that is. It's just looks like he's just running his pen across the paper repeatedly.
If you gave a 2-year-old a pen and a notepad, that's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Is this man, what is wrong with this man? I just feel like this game has passed him by. But it goes on to say that I think there are a handful of more of, let's see, David Moore says, quote, I think there are a handful or more of quarterbacks playing who haven't won a Super Bowl that will win a Super Bowl. I think Dak is one of them. I'm firm here. He's one of the ones who can. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said on Dak Prescott. But what's interesting is Yet the photo that was taken where they got him when he was talking, he's just sitting out here, kicked back, right there in the public. I think I would have hid my pad, right? I mean, a lot of people doodle on notepads when they're in meetings and stuff, but the scribble here is just crazy. Ready, Teddy. It's Rose's parking lot time if I ever run into Kevin Todd or any of his crew. Teddy's ready to take Todd out.
Good. I'd like to see it.
He is ready to take Todd out. Jones, already the most highly scrutinized team, owns and runs the most scrutinized team in the NFL, are facing extra pressure this offseason following a bizarre lack of free agent signings. And, of course, we talked about that earlier. It feels like the Dallas media is going after him. This guy from the Dallas media put this picture out here. Another guy, some radio guy over there, started this. He needs to sell the team. Is there a coup d'etat going on between the media? Are they trying to set this up to get him out of there? Have they had enough?
No, they play into this every year. Every year, Jerry Jones has been doing this. I mean, it's nothing new. It's well documented, and they just keep hyping it up. And yeah, for now, you know what? It's because they didn't make any free agency moves. So right now, it's fun for them in Dallas to say all this, but then when it comes time to we got to get Jerry on our weekly spot, then everything's forgiven.
Yeah, they were. I tell you what, if they being the Cowboys really slip this year, people are going to come back to right, wrong, or indifferent that they did much of nothing during free agency. Now I know that there's cap limitations and things of that nature, but I don't know. It just feels like that organization is just spinning, right? It's not doing anything positive. Jim, bracket winners. Yes, Jim, thank you. Had them right here. Thank you, Jim. Round 1 winner. I can only go off your name on the bracket. Dr. Taz 11. Round 1 winner. Capital Ortho, Mississippi Legends Grill bracket. That's DRTAZ 11. Round 2 winner, Colonel Mustard. Colonel Mustard, round 2 winner.
Colonel Mustard.
Yeah. So
not you, Jim. Why are you so worried about it then?
He may be Taz. He may be Dr. Taz 11. So, but we'll have more prizes to give away. Contact us here, 601-897-1059. We'll get you in touch with George and get you set up for your prizes. That's Dr. Taz 11, if you're listening or know who that is. And then Colonel Mustard, we can reach out to. And Colonel Mustard's going to get some prizes. How about that? If he's still alive.
Tell me about these prizes.
Well, we got rounds of golf that we're giving away to Castle Woods and some other places. We got good stuff coming in from Southern Beverage. Several things, from shirts and hats and gift cards, all kinds of stuff. What you want? What you want me to get you? I'll get you something. You want a gift card?
No.
How about a hat?
Seen those shirts and hats in this tournament before.
Do you want a round of golf? Didn't you buy some golf clubs you never used?
No, John Wiener and what was Stewart? What was his last name?
I know who you speak of.
The golf man.
Yep, and I cannot remember his last name.
With the accent.
Yeah.
No, they gave me clubs.
What'd you do with the clubs?
They're in the storage room.
Did you ever hit those clubs?
I went and Stewart attempted, and I say attempted because it's kind of a lost cause with me. He gave me a few somewhat lessons. We hit, what's that? Okay, you know the big screen. Oh, what was that place that sold the golf carts around the corner? I'm only remembering bits and pieces here. It's over on 51. Right around the corner from here.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, they got the big screen where you hit the ball and it's projected a golf course on the big screen.
Right.
He told me how to hold the club. That was step 1.
So you never actually went out on a course and played with them?
Mm-mm.
Maybe we need to get you out on the course. You and Chris Brooks, he can take you out to Castlewoods. What do you think?
I told Chris one time. I think he asked me if I wanted to go play. I said, sure. That was 6 years ago?
But never happened.
Of course not.
We'll have to try to maybe get him to take you out there. Swing those clubs. They're brand new. Hey, we're brought to you by Williams Newman Williams. When you need a win, car wreck, truck accident, nursing home neglect. Online, WNWlegal.com. One more segment to go on a Monday. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game.
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Final segment on a Monday brought to you by Gutter Masters. Online at guttermastersllc.com. Get protected today, 601-503-7755. Also on facebook.com/Gutter Masters. David Murray with us today. Chris Landry as well. We'll get these up later on this week. As you can find the show content on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and more. Just search Jake Wimberly, The Jake Wimberly Show. All right, let's see here. Other stuff that is out there. Let's see, we're talking about Jerry Jones. So The Price is Right. I didn't even know this. You know, we were talking about The Price is Right, last week? I think when Chris was in here. The Price is Right has a contingency plan for contestants who pee themselves in excitement. I had no idea. I didn't realize it was that common. The Price is Right tends to feature some of the most enthusiastic contestants you'll ever encounter on a game show, and the program apparently has a plan in place if anyone was ever to get so excited that they peed their pants. In 2022, The Price is Right celebrated its 50th anniversary, and the show that's served as comfort viewing for generations of kids who stayed home sick from school was given tens of thousands of people the chance to use their knowledge of retail pricing to walk away with the main prizes it's offered over the decades. It's not rare for audience members to whip themselves into a frenzy after being invited down on contestants' row, and were frequently treated to some of the more even over-the-top celebrations as they win a prize or have to spin a big wheel and, you know, the showcase showdown and so on and so forth. Some people have actually ended up with some pretty serious injuries thanks to their enthusiasm, including a contestant who had to get his wife to spin the wheel for him after he dislocated his shoulder while jumping around last year. The Price is Right has a plan in place for situations like that, and it's apparently also prepared for to jump into action if anyone befalls a slightly less serious but embarrassing fate, and that would be your bladder. During a recent interview with People, Mike Richards, who worked as a producer for The Price is Right prior to seeing his career implode after he was briefly named the host of Jeopardy, revealed the long-running program is seemingly prepared for anything and everything. Quote, "When I got there, we had a system in place just in case of someone losing their bladder. I never saw it happen, but there were curtains and a blow dryer and a pair of sweats just in case that we could put you in on the show." So I didn't realize that people got that excited. Do you think that you would be so excited that you would lose your bladder? I don't think that I probably would. Rhett Cetera. I bet that there is a whole lot more peeing in the pants amongst people who still watch The Price is Right than any contestants. It's very, very possible. All right, let me get back into these quarterback rooms while I got a few minutes left here. We were going over the best quarterback rooms as far as college football is concerned. This courtesy of ESPN. USC at number 5. We kind of went through a little bit of that. Number 6, Alabama still looks like they've got a really, really good quarterback room. Jalen Milroe, it was listed over the weekend. Kalen DeBoer talked about Milroe is going to be the starter for Alabama. We'll see what happens with the rest of the guys. Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, Dylan Longergan, and Cade Carruth. And, of course, Milroe, redshirt junior, Simpson, a redshirt sophomore, Mack, redshirt freshman. He transferred in from Washington. So some of these guys will probably bolt. But when you look at the success rate of a Kalen DeBoer, and look, Penix is going to be the bell cow for Kalen DeBoer and what he can do with a quarterback. But if he can get Jalen Milroe now to that next level, that takes him even further as a quarterback's coach. But at least early on, they're set up in a good spot. Number 7, Ole Miss. Ole Miss returns, obviously, Jackson Dart, who will be a senior, Walker Howard, sophomore, Austin Simmons, freshman, Deljay Bailey, freshman, Anthony Maddox, freshman, and then Brandon Waterman, sophomore. Says in hindsight, Adam Rittenberg says, I should have included Ole Miss in last year's rankings, given the depth they had at the quarterback room, as well as Lane Kiffin leading the program. Kiffin added competition for Dart in the offseason, and Dart delivered anyway, setting career highs for passing yards at 33.64, touchdowns at 23, completion percentage at 65.1, while reducing his interception total from 11 in 2022 to only 5 last year. Although his performances in losses against Georgia and Alabama raised some doubt about his ability in the biggest games, Dart finished with 379 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Peach Bowl against Penn State, and the future looks bright there. Howard, an ESPN Top 50 recruit in 2022, is set to be in a reserve role for the second straight season after transferring from LSU. Howard could be the team's answer for 25 and 26, but Austin Simmons is very much in the mix. Also, Simmons was the top 80 recruit in 2025 in that class who flipped from Florida to Ole Miss and reclassified, joining the Rebels last year at just 17. He gives Ole Miss a dynamic dual threat option when Dart departs. Ole Miss added ESPN 300 quarterback Anthony Maddox from Oak Grove as well, so they are set up and ready to go. Possum Neck Joe, 3,500 yards, Jake. That's what you bet me Will Rogers will throw for. Obviously, Washington isn't on that list. This list is quarterback rooms, Joe. It's quarterback rooms. It's not quarterbacks. And yes, Joe, Will Rogers will throw 1 yard over 3,500 this year. 1 yard over. LSU at number 8 on this list. And, of course, with Jaden Daniels moving on to the National Football League, Garrett Nussmeier finally gets his shot as a redshirt junior. A.J. Swan, junior transfer from Vanderbilt, is on that roster. Ricky Collins, redshirt freshman. Colin Hurley is a freshman. So LSU looks like they're in pretty good shape. Notre Dame, and again, they've had to do this through the transfer portal like a lot of teams, but Riley Leonard, senior Duke transfer. Steve Angeli, redshirt sophomore. Kenny Minchie, redshirt freshman. C.J. Carr, freshman. And Dylan Devizin, junior. Notre Dame's got a pretty solid, they rank number 9. Number 10 on this list is Arizona. And, of course, we'll kind of go through some of these. Number 11 is Oklahoma. We'll see what Jackson Arnold can do in his first year as an SEC quarterback. You know, Oklahoma, they put up big numbers last year with Dylan Gabriel, but now it's Jackson Arnold's turn, and they've got several guys like Casey Thompson, senior Florida Atlantic transfer. He's been everywhere. Michael Hawkins, freshman, and some others. Number 12, Tennessee. They have Nico, and then they've got several guys on that list. As Josh Heupel has shown, he knows how to coach quarterbacks as well. Florida State, they've done a great job with DJ Uiagalelei. Brock Glenn, Luke Kromenhoek, and several others. I mean, a lot of these teams, they have just a lot of quarterbacks, but you got to set up for that attrition. Utah at 14, Kansas 15, Penn State 16, Missouri at 17. Miami's got a massive quarterback room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. 8 guys in that quarterback room for Miami. Michigan at 19. We'll see who takes over for Alex Orji is the guy looks to be the heir apparent redshirt sophomore for Michigan. 20, Kansas State. SMU 21. Preston Stone is a returning starter. Look, what SMU is doing quietly in recruiting is really impressive. Now, obviously, they're maximizing the transfer portal, but they have done a great job. Number 22, up there they are, Joe, Washington. There they are, number 22. Appreciate David Murray. Appreciate Chris Landry. Appreciate you fine people out there. Be safe with the rain coming in and the storms. Remember, ketchup is king. Bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. Be a man of increase. See you tomorrow. Good night.